Hi everyone, my name is Tina Persinger. I am located in the interior of Alaska in Fairbanks. Today I will be presenting data from both Anchorage and Eielson. Anchorage is located in southern Alaska along the coast. Eielson is located 18 miles southeast of Fairbanks here in the interior. These data collections represent two time frames. The first time frame is from the end of January and beginning of February. The second time frame of data was taken in the middle to late March. We will start off by looking at data taken from January 30th through February 5th. Here we can see a side-by-side comparison of the data collected from Anchorage and Eielson during this time frame. The graphs shown display air temperature, pressure, dew point temperature, and relative humidity. We will start by looking at the top two graphs which display air temperature. As seen on the left graph, Anchorage had a weekly average of roughly 18 degrees Fahrenheit. The week begun with a low of 10 degrees followed by a spike up to 38 degrees and ended with a fairly consistent temperature around roughly 10 degrees. When looking at the right graph, we can see the average temperature in Eielson was roughly -8 degrees Fahrenheit. Eielson displays a beginning low of -20, followed by a similar spike as seen in the first graph up to roughly 10 degrees. The last 4 days of the week were fairly consistent in Eielson, displaying cooler nights and morning temperatures of roughly -15 degrees Fahrenheit with an afternoon average of around -3 degrees. In an overall comparison, the interior near Eielson tends to be cooler than temperatures taken in Anchorage due to the ocean influence Anchorage has. As we can see, the temperature scale for Anchorage ranges from roughly 5 degrees Fahrenheit to 38 degrees. Meanwhile, Eielson ranges from -20 degrees Fahrenheit to roughly 12 degrees. The ranges in each location were consistent with a rough 30-degree range. However, it is clear that the interior experienced colder temperatures. Moving on to barometric pressure, we can see when comparing the two graphs that they both display relatively similar changes throughout the week, beginning with an incline, seeing a slight decline, followed by a large progressive incline and ending with a consistent decline. When observing dew point temperatures, we can see there are some similarities in regards to the general variation. The beginning of the week displays a decent spike in temperature, while the end of the week displays consistent inclines and declines in regards to the time of day the recordings were taken. Lastly, when looking at the relative humidity, we can see that Anchorage has a much wider range than Eielson. This is likely due to the ocean nearby creating variation for Anchorage. When looking at the weather map for Tuesday, January 31st, we can see a high-pressure system displayed in the interior near Eielson at roughly 1,043 millibars. We can also see a low-pressure system displayed near Anchorage at roughly 1,021 millibars. We can see winds moving in from the south displayed near Anchorage's low-pressure system. When looking at the weather map for Saturday, February 4th, we can clearly see high-pressure systems all over Alaska. Near Eielson, we can see a high-pressure system displaying roughly 1,032 millibars, while near Anchorage is between two high-pressure systems which display roughly 1,025 and 1,032 millibars. Once again, the winds here continue to come from the south. Beginning to look at the March data, we can once again see the four graphs for a nice side-by-side comparison. Starting with an air temperature in Anchorage, we can see an average temperature of roughly 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Throughout the week, Anchorage experienced fairly consistent temperatures with morning temperatures around 10 degrees and evenings closer to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. When looking at the interior temperature data, we can see once again a fairly consistent display throughout the week. The interior did experience more of a range from morning to evening, with mornings around -20 and evenings up to 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Once again, the interior displays a much cooler range than Anchorage. Moving on to barometric pressure, we can see both regions stayed within a 15 millibar range of itself. The interior once again shows a little bit higher of a range, spiking up to 1,022 millibars at the beginning of the week. When we look at dew point temperatures, we can see that both regions experienced wide ranges throughout the day. Looking at Anchorage, we can see a dew point range from roughly 0 to 16 degrees. When looking at the interior, we can see a range from -30 to roughly 0 degrees. The interior displays much cooler dew point temperatures. It also displays a wider range between morning and evening of 30 degrees in comparison to the range of 15 seen in Anchorage. Relative humidity in Anchorage is displaying fairly opposite recordings as the interior, with an increase during the day for Anchorage and a fairly significant decrease during the day for the interior. When looking at the weather map for March 21st, we can see a high pressure system moving away from the interior towards the southeast, while a low pressure system moves in from the east. We can also see a low pressure system hovering over Anchorage. When looking at the weather map for March 25th, we can see that later in the week, a high pressure system remained over the interior. We can also see snow moving near Anchorage. When looking at an overall monthly average temperatures for Fairbanks and Anchorage, we can see that Fairbanks tends to have a wider range in temperature as it drops to lower temperatures than often seen in the Anchorage area.